Welcome, students. This session is for BA second year English Literature paper second, that is prose and fiction. And in this session, we'll continue with the story A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. Before we continue with the text, let's have a recap. The short story centers on Miss Emily Grierson, an aristocratic woman deeply admired by community that places her on a pedestal and sees her as a tradition, a duty. So we have seen that how this whole town of Jefferson looks at Miss Emily just like a tradition, and they feel a duty towards her, or as the unnamed narrator describes her, a fallen monument. And even the narrator describes Emily as a fallen monument uh, at the time of her death. In contrast to the community's view, we realize eventually that the contrast between the aristocratic woman and her unspeakable secrets forms the basis of the story. So, this story is all about the contrast of community and this central character that is Miss Emily. On one hand, there is a change which is coming in the community and the surroundings. And on the other hand, you see this aristocratic woman, Miss Emily, who has unspeakable secrets associated with her because the Griersons held themselves a little too high for what they really were. This is what is told about this aristocratic family, that they used to think quite high about themselves than they actually were. Miss Emily's father forbids her to date socially, or at least the community thinks so. Actually, whatever happens in Miss Emily's life is the result of people's own imagination and their own interpretation of her life. Because she does not date anyone socially, so people think that maybe Emily's father has forbidden her to date anyone socially. None of the young men were quite good enough for Miss Emily and such, because they thought that Miss Emily belonged to an aristocratic class, and none of the young men was suitable enough for Miss Emily. The story reveals the inner life of a woman who, despite her eccentricities, was committed to living life on her own terms and not submitting her behavior, no matter how shocking, to the approval of others. In the whole story, we see the inner life of Miss Emily. Though her life and her ways they appear eccentric, quite odd to the readers or to the people around, still she was committed to live a life on her own terms, and she did not surrender her principles on any terms of the outside world. She did not submit herself, and no matter how much shocking her reaction appears to the people outside. Emily subscribes to her own moral code and occupies a world of her own invention where even murder is permissible. We are going to see in the story that how Emily has her own definition of moral code, and she has a life in her own invented world, and in her world, even murder is permissible. Now let's continue with the text of the story. We have seen that Emily has died, and she all she has left with her is that old Negro servant, and she died in the downstairs room of her house. The Negro met the first of the ladies at the front door and led them in. So after death of Emily, when ladies came to visit that house, Negro let those first of the ladies who came to visit on the front door, and he brought them in with their hushed sibilant voices and the quick, curious glances, and then he disappeared. So these women, they enter this house of Miss Emily, and they are talking in a hushed voices and trying to look inside the house. But as soon as this Negro lets those women in, he disappears from that place, and he's never to be seen again. He walked right through the house and out in the back and was not seen again. So this Negro, the moment Emily dies, he leaves the house and is not seen again. The two female cousins came at once. The cousins of Emily, they come at once. They held a funeral on the second day, with the town coming to look at Miss Emily beneath the mass of brought flowers, with the crayon face of her father, musing profoundly above the bier, and the ladies Sibilant and Macber, and the very old men, some in their brushed Confederate uniforms, on the porch and lawn, talking of Miss Emily as if she had been contemporary of theirs, believing that they had danced with her and quoted her perhaps, confusing time with its mathematical progression as the old do. So, in a very interesting way, the writer over here gives us the whole picture of Emily's funeral, where you see that she is her dead body is the uh, under the mass of flowers, and there's a painting of a father, which is right there where her dead body is laid, and the ladies are there in that mood of that the macabre, or you can say that they are talking very silently, and the whole atmosphere is of death. And the old men, they are in their Confederate uniforms, and they are there in the porch and the lawn. They're talking about Miss Emily, and they're talking about her as if she has been contemporary of theirs, and they are somewhere narrating those imagined stories about Miss Emily, that they had danced with Miss Emily, or they have quoted her perhaps. And this happens with old people, that they get confused about time, and anything that has happened in the past, it appears to them as if it just happened yesterday. So for them, past is not a diminishing road, but a huge meadow. So they can just pick up incident from the past as if it has just happened a few days back. And so instead of taking time as linear as a road, for old people, it's just like a meadow where they can pick and choose incidents from the past as if they belonged to a very near past, and they just get confused with the time, which no winter ever quite touches. So their memory area is never touched by any winter. They remember all the things that have happened in their life as if they are put in some green meadow from which they can pick and talk about. Divided from them now by the narrow bottleneck of the most recent decade of years. And all these happenings of their past, it just appears to them as if there's hardly any distance from those memory. The distance is just like a distance of a bottleneck, and the decade of the years are appear to them as if they are very recent happenings of their life. Already we knew that there was one room in that region above stairs which no one had seen in 40 years, and which would have to be forced. They waited until Miss Emily was decently in the ground before they opened it. So now people knew that there is some room upstairs which has not been opened for years. So they waited to open those rooms till Emily was laid or she was buried. The violence of breaking down the door seemed to fill this room with pervading dust. So now the upstairs room is broken, and people are trying to enter it, and to see what's there inside. When the door is broken, there's an all pervading dust. A thin, acrid pall as of a tomb seemed to lie everywhere upon this room, decked and furnished as for a bridal. Once this room is broke open, uh, one can see that this room was decorated as if it was decorated for a marriage. Upon the valance curtains of faded rose color, there was rose color curtains in this room, upon the rose shaded lights, upon the dressing table, upon the delicate array of crystal, a man toilet things were backed and tarnished silver, so tarnished that a monogram was obscured. So the whole scene of this room is as of a marriage. There's a dressing table, the man toiletries are there, but with the passage of time, these toiletries are so tarnished that even the monogram was quite hidden, and nobody could read the monogram. Among them lay a collar and a tie as if they had just been removed, which lifted left upon a surface a pale crescent in the dust. So even the male clothes were lying over there, the collar and tie. And if you remove these collar and tie from the surface, they make a mark of dust on the surface. So they were like untouched for a long, long time. Upon a chair hung a suit, carefully folded. Beneath it, two mute shoes and a discarded socks. The whole scene is given that in this room, a male suit is carefully folded and kept, and two mute shoes, that is, a pair of shoes was also lying, and also the discarded socks. Somebody who has just removed socks, they were also lying over there. The man himself lay in the bed. The shocking thing was that the man was lying in the bed. For a long while we just stood there, looking down at the profound and fleshless grin. So this man which was lying in the bed was left just like a skeleton, and there was a fleshless grin on this man. The body had apparently once lain in the attitude of an embrace, but now the long sleep that outlasts love, that conquers even the grimace of love, had cuckolded him. So this body was in the position as if somebody had embraced him, and it looked like that this man has died in this posture and taken up that long sleep, that is death, which conquers love. What was left of him rotted beneath. What was left of the nightshirt had become inextricable from the bed in which he lay. This dead body of a man was rotten on this bed, and even the shirt got stuck to his skeleton to that level that it could not be extricated from that. And upon him and upon the pillow beside him lay that even coating of a patient and biding dust. There was dust everywhere. On the pillow where this man was lying and the pillow next to his head, there was a patient dust. And then we noticed that in the second pillow was the indention of a head. And then the second pillow, when it was noticed closely, one could see that there was an indent. There was a dent, as if somebody used to lie uh, in that on that pillow. That there was a depression to be seen on that pillow. One of us lifted something from it, and leaning forward, that faint and invisible dust dry and acrid in the nostrils, we saw a long strand of iron grey hair. So, when something was lifted from that pillow, we could see that it was a strand of an iron grey hair. And this gives us a shocking feel that maybe Miss Emily, till her old age, till that upper area of the house was not shut, she used to come and lie down near the dead body of Homer. Now, this story is quite shocking in itself. The end is something which is not expected by the readers. Let's look at the analysis, that how this story ends and what does it mean. Miss Emily is a woman who not only poisons and kills her lover. Now we remember that Miss Emily did purchase a poison, arsenic, from the drug dealer, and maybe she has used that poison to kill Homer. Homer barren, but she keeps his rotting corpse in her bedroom and sleeps next to it for many years. So this is quite a secret uh, aspect of Miss Emily. We did not expect her that she is going to uh, do like this in her life. The ending of the story emphasizes the length of time Miss Emily must have slept with the dead lover, because the hair that is found on that pillow is a gray hair that shows that Miss Emily had slept with that dead lover for quite a long time, long enough for the townspeople to find a long strand of iron gray hair lying on the pillow next to what was left of him, rotted beneath what was left of the nightshirt, and displaying the profound and fleshless grin. This way, we see that Miss Emily, she has tried somewhere to stop time. This macabre bridal chamber, the way that she has decorated the room as if the place is suitable for marriage purpose, and uh, we can see that she has killed her lover, she has poisoned him. This is the way, or you can say that this is her gesture to stop time and to prevent change. Although doing so comes at the expense of human life, she does not want to make any changes around. She did not want to marry and then see people changing and to go anywhere from here. So, what we find is that she brings Homer to that marriage room and to that bridal room, and then she kills him and makes that moment static and unchangeable. When Homer dies, Emily refuses to acknowledge it once again. Although this time she herself was responsible for bringing about the death, she does not accept this. And we also remember the foul smell coming out of the house. This was because of the rotting flesh of Homer for weeks, which we did not even suspect for a minute that Emily would have done anything like this. So, in killing Homer, she was able to keep him near her. Uh, just to keep Homer with her forever, she killed him and she kept him with her. However, Homer's lifelessness rendered him permanently distant. Uh, but Homer was not living, so in a way he became permanently away from her. But in the physical form, she was able to keep him forever. Emily and Homer grotesque marriage reveals Emily's disturbing attempt to fuse life and death. Uh, to keep Homer's dead body with her, to make that moment permanent in her life, it looks quite odd. The way Emily fuses life and death together. However, death ultimately triumphs. Uh, Emily tries to bring this life and death together, and we see that in the end, death triumphs. We have seen death of Emily's father, death of Homer, and death of Emily. So, in this story, death finally wins. So, students, that's the end of this interesting story, full of so many secrets and mysteries. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.